Welcome to the Rewilded Human podcast, where Dr. Lucille and Lynn will tackle your most difficult and intimate questions with candor, tough love, and a little dash of humor. In today's episode,
one thing you can definitely do is get the hormones checked to make sure what's happening. If you need maybe perhaps some bioidentical hormones to help balance things, it's a good idea to get the thyroid check.
I think one of the things that you might want to really look at in yourself is whether or not you're beating up on yourself in a way that's totally unfair. You know, the idea that I don't fit in, I don't belong, there's something wrong with me. It's so easy for us to go down that road when we do not mesh with our tribe anymore. It's so easy to feel like we're the ones that are the problem. And not only tolerate your partner going off and doing their own thing, but kind of celebrating it and supporting them. Yeah, go out with the boys, have fun, whatever, do it. And then they come back happier. And ideally, you should both be happy that way.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 53 of the Rewilded Human podcast. I'm Lynn Hardy. I'm a naturopath and a nutritional consultant. And this is my amazing co-host, Dr. Lucille Nekas. And she's a holistic psychiatrist and a psychotherapist. And together we are going to be attacking your most intimate questions about health, mental health, relationships, friendships, work issues, anything under the sun. And guys, please keep sending us your questions. Make sure you subscribe to this channel wherever you're listening, and if you enjoy this, please write us a review, because reviews really help with the algorithm as well. So we're going to jump right into your questions.
Hi ladies, I am 52 and depressed about not losing weight, but I keep trying. Any tips for me? Thanks, Lisa.
Lisa, thank you so much for your questions. And at 52, believe me, girl, you are not alone. A lot of ladies are going through this right now. I get these questions so frequently from women, especially once we hit menopause. It's like something happens, everything kind of slows down, comes to a halt. And you're doing the same things that you've been doing all your life, and all of a sudden nothing's working. You don't change the way you're eating, you're still exercising, and you just start putting on weight. So the hormones are huge at this point. So that's the main culprit that we're dealing with. One thing you can definitely do is get the hormones checked to make sure what's happening. If you need maybe perhaps some bioidentical hormones to help balance things, it's a good idea to get the thyroid check. So, I mean, this is a very, very broad subject that we could talk about forever. So I'm going to my tips, I'm going to really focus on the most important things that we can do, which right now, I make sure all the ladies that follow me, I make sure they understand, first of all, the importance of protein, prioritizing protein. So 1 gram of protein for every pound of your ideal weight. So for example, if your ideal weight is 130 pounds, then I need you to be eating 130 grams of protein, which is quite a bit. People don't realize how much that is. It's quite a bit. And if you're not ready to go on a low carb or a keto diet, and to skip all the desserts and the starches and the bread and all of that stuff, which not everyone's ready to give up, then what I ask people to do is focus on your protein first. Eat your 130 grams of protein. And if you're still hungry, then eat whatever you want. So if you're, for example, the 130 grams of protein, say we're getting 40 grams at each meal, make sure you've had your 40 grams. And then if you still want the potatoes, if you still want the bread, then eat that. But focus on the protein. So that's the first thing. Focus on protein. Number 2, focus on building muscle, because the more muscle you have, the more you are burning, more calories you're burning at rest. Muscles are your powerhouse. They are what keeps your whole structure of your body strong. It'll help you age so much healthier, and it'll save you from all kinds of different issues as you're getting older. So muscle is huge. Build muscle. I know I sound like a broken record, but it's really down to these things. It's building muscle, eating protein, and the third one is sleep. So if you're not getting adequate sleep, nothing's working properly. Sleep is really important, 7 to 8 hours a day. Quick bonus tips: stop drinking alcohol. Whenever you're drinking alcohol, your body shuts down the fat burning because it's metabolizing the alcohol, which is a poison. stop drinking alcohol, stop drinking caffeine. I mean, I could go on forever, but these are just like the basic tips to get you started. I hope these help. There's a lot of tips in my book, The Aging Games, How to Come Out a Winner. So if you're looking for more information, do check that out. Dr. Lucille, what do you have? I'm sure you have something to add to this.
And Lynn, you remember that we did an episode with Dr. Jay Wrigley, and
Yes,
he
yes,
addressed some of this. And so
that's right.
if I were you, Lisa, I would go back to that episode, and he has a wealth of information as well, because that's his expertise, right?
Yeah, that was gold. That was an amazing episode.
That was a
Great
great
suggestion.
episode. But because my expertise is in the area of mental health, the one thing that you cannot ignore is your mindset about your body image, about your self-esteem. How is this affecting you? A lot of women carry over a negative body image from like way back. You know how, we as women, we are taught that to look at everything that's wrong with our body and to over focus on it. And what that does is it makes you kind of like an enemy of your body.
Yeah.
And you start, bombarding it with negative thoughts and, rejecting it and being critical. And what you're doing there is you are sending a lot of cortisol through your body, which is a stress hormone. And guess what that does? It lowers your metabolism so that you're not going to lose the weight, right?
Absolutely.
You're also giving your subconscious the message that I'm a failure. My body's inferior. I can't do this. So what happens then is your subconscious is a very faithful servant, and it will then act on your belief system, and it will stop you, it will sabotage you from losing the weight.
Absolutely.
Right? It's amazing how it does that. And so if I were you, I would really reflect on, how do I really feel about my body? How have I developed negative beliefs about it? How am I whipping it, emotionally by telling it how bad it is?
Yeah.
How am I eroding my own self-esteem? And really making it a priority to start becoming friends with your body, like loving your body. We thrive and we grow and we heal when we are loved and supported and we feel safe. Same thing with the body. If you can treat it as if it's, a loved member of your family, which it really is.
It should be. Definitely
right?
should be. Yeah.
Then you might find that the weight comes off more easily and you have less of a struggle with it. So I hope that makes sense to you, but that's my 2 cents worth.
I love that, Lucille, and I love that, we can give like 2 different perspectives, one from the practical side, the practical points, and that you look at a very important part, which is the mental state and our mental health when it comes to our bodies. And I mean, those things everything is so interconnected. Do you remember in one episode we discussed about like going to bed at night and just like sending love to different parts of your body?
Right.
Like sending love to your tummy. My tummy's perfect. I love you. You're beautiful. My breasts are beautiful. I love you. And every cell in your body, I could feel it resonating right now. I can feel them vibrating because it's listening. So it's so important. The self-talk is so important. I love that point because and a body that feels loved and cherished will definitely not be holding on to weight the same way as a body that is, stressed and feeling unloved. And you're absolutely right about cortisol, because it's gonna, especially with the belly fat, the large bellies that you see, it's like it's a cortisol belly. So that's great points, Lisa. I hope we're able to help you with this.
Yeah, I hope you have success. I really
But do check out the episode with Dr. J. I mean, that was a really good one. You'll get a lot out of that for sure. And we have the next question from Carrie.
Hey, I'm 15 years old and I feel totally alone. I used to have a few besties, but when we started high school, they got into drugs. And I don't want to go there because my dad's an alcoholic and he's made life miserable for my family. So I don't fit in anymore. I'm so depressed. There's no one I can confide in. So what can I do? Carrie.
Do you know, Carrie, I am so glad that you reached out for help, at least here. I know you say you don't have anybody to confide in, but it was very brave of you to reach out for help because, you're certainly not the only teenager who's really struggling, especially in this day and age of the history of our world. And, you are going to have success at overcoming this because you have the courage to ask for help. Now, you're going through something that I know for a 15-year-old, it probably feels like the whole world is collapsing over your head. Like it's just horrible. But you've done the right thing. I think you have to remember you have done the right thing by refusing to get into that cesspool of drugs and alcohol that unfortunately a lot of kids get into because they're medicating themselves. They're medicating themselves for a lot of reasons, so much unhappiness, so much misery. The last few years of our history have not helped at all for kids in terms of socializing and developing in a healthy way. I think one of the things that you might want to really look at in yourself is whether or not you're beating up on yourself in a way that's totally unfair. The idea that I don't fit in, I don't belong, there's something wrong with me. It's so easy for us to go down that road when we do not mesh with our tribe anymore. It's so easy to feel like we're the ones that are the problem. Although I think you understand, at least intellectually, that you can't go down the road that your dad went down. You just can't. And that you have to keep your mind open also to the idea that, you've known this group of kids for a long time, but you don't know who else is out there who might be more like you. And you have to grieve. You have to grieve the loss of these friends. That's really normal. You can't just pretend like, oh, it's okay, everything's fine. No, you can't. But at the same time, you can also remind yourself that it's just that you haven't yet found the people that you really resonate with, the people that will really be able to support you, that you'll be able to support. Because there are teenagers like you who are in the same boat that you're in. It's just a matter of finding them, right? It would really help if you could find somebody like an adult that you can confide in that could give you, wise guidance and support. I don't know, it could be a teacher, guidance counselor. You don't mention your mom, so I don't know what's going on there, but you may feel like that's not a place you can take your troubles to. You can take them to your mom. But I would just say that grieve, know that you have done the right thing and that you're really brave and strong to stand by your values and that you're going to live a good life. You're going to create a good life for yourself. You just have to find the right tribe now. So, whether it's extracurriculars or volunteer work or whatever draws you, whatever draws your heart, I would say go and indulge in it if you haven't already tried. And look for the people, put it out to the universe, your desire for best friends now that are on the same path as you, have the same values, and are really strong in their determination to create a good life. Yeah, I wish you all the best with this. I think you can do it. I think you already have a lot of strength. And, I admire you for the stance you've taken. So Lynn, what would you add?
I'm not sure I have anything to add to this because you brought up some really great points, Lucille. Carrie, you are a very brave young woman for speaking up. I love that. And you're probably one of our youngest listeners. So thank you so much for tuning in. And I think Dr. Lucille is right about everything that she said. It's, well done for standing up for what you believe in. And that's going to really serve you well throughout your life. I absolutely believe that. See, my phone rings at 10 p.m. every single night. It rings twice and then that's it. So I don't know what happens there. every single night. It's been doing that for years, but there's nobody ever on the phone. So if anyone can explain that to me, sorry, Carrie, back to you. It's just,
Yes.
it's very strange. So yeah, sometimes, I remember being 15 and it was really hard. And, you want to fit in so badly. And, I went through that and trying the drugs and the alcohol and everything. And it didn't lead to anything good, to be honest with you. And those are not friends that I still have in my life, or those are not people that I had in my life for a very long time. So if you can find good quality friends, and like Dr. Lucille said, if you have someone that you can trust, it could be an aunt or an uncle or a guidance counselor, your mom, someone that can listen to you and help you and to give you the strength to carry on, without your besties, and with getting yourself out there, making new friends that will resonate with you. I think you're gonna have an amazing life.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I do hope that you can write back to us one day and tell us how great you're doing.
Yeah, I hope so too. Thank you very much for your question, Carrie.
Thanks, Carrie.
We are on to our next question from Leanne.
Hi there. I always assumed that once people married, they did everything together. I get my husband to go everywhere with me, but he's started complaining, and my friends and family are saying that it's weird. Shouldn't we want to be together all the time if we love each other? Thanks, Leanne.
Leanne, thank you so much for your question. Dr. Lucille threw the ball at me because I've been married for so long, so I'm going to jump in first. Yeah, this is very interesting, and I do know people like this. For example, my parents are like this. They do absolutely everything together. They have one email, one phone. It's like one person doesn't exist without the other, and they have a very happy, fulfilling marriage that way. For them, that's the definition of love, that you are constantly together. And they find, for example, my marriage with my husband very strange because, we go and we live our own lives, we do our own things, we are not joined at the hip. And we are very happy like this. I'm a very independent person. So if I had a guy, coming after me all the time, that would drive me crazy. That would not be for me. But I think basically, I don't know how long you guys have been married. You didn't mention that. I mean, you could be newlyweds or maybe you've been married for a long time. But I think whatever works for you, if it works for both of you and you guys are happy like this and you love each other and you're happy being together all the time, then it's really not up to anyone else to judge how your relationship is going.
Oh, but except that her husband has started complaining about it.
Oh, it's the husband. I thought it was somebody else complaining. Oh, okay, so it's the husband.
It's the
Ah,
husband and people also
and well, I
comment.
was like family and friends, but okay, so the husband's complaining. Okay, so and I have a friend who is newly married, and she has a very, very needy husband, and he wants to be with her all the time. And she's a very independent spirit, like I am, and she's really missing her freedom, like horribly. It's very hard when it only works when both parties want to be tied at the hip all the time. But I also wonder, like, is there some kind of dysfunction that makes you want to do that? Because I mean, you're two separate people, right? And you might have different interests, and you can't have everything always the same. Lucille, what do you think? So if the husband's complaining,
Well, I'm gonna insert a really hard truth.
okay.
There are people who do believe that this is a sign of love, right?
Mhm.
I would say it's a big sign of insecurity and immaturity. And I'm sorry to say that, Leanne, but yeah, sure. I mean, I don't want to condemn people who do this, but as Lynn said earlier, if both of you are at the same stage of development, it's kind of like that you're still children who need to cling to your bestie, right? And do everything together. If you're both in that position and you're fine with it, bless you. Go on and have your life and enjoy it. But it is a sign that you haven't matured more than maybe past the age of 10 or so, because in normal human development, once we start getting into puberty, we automatically start developing more autonomy. We automatically want to go out in the world and find people other than our own family members that we can have relationships with, that we can have fun with, that we can do things with. We need to expand our network and we need to explore the world to find the things that we enjoy doing. You know, even if
And
you've
even
got a
to find
best,
ourselves, right? To
to
find ourselves,
find
because
ourselves.
you can't find yourself when someone's constantly with you.
Absolutely. You know, so you have a bestie, but every once in a while you go out with some other group of kids to a movie or whatever. You know, you need to have that time of intimacy. There's a kind of a like a pattern of people who are close will have their times of intimacy where they come together, but for real mental and physical and spiritual health, they also need to go apart and do their own thing. And when they do their own thing, they're happy and they come back into the relationship and bring into the relationship whatever they gained when they were separate, right?
Yeah.
They talk
Yes.
about their, you know, their work, or, you know, they, you know, the great time they had going camping with the boys or whatever, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
You need other people in your life. You need to be able to tolerate your partner, and not only tolerate your partner going off and doing their own thing, but kind of celebrating it and supporting them.
Yeah.
Yeah, go out with the boys, have fun, whatever, do it. And, you know, and then they come back happier. And ideally, you should both be happy that way.
Yeah.
So, you know, Leanne, I don't want to make you sound like you're in mental health failure. Not at all. It's just you have to understand that maybe it's just going to take time for you, that maybe this is not the total ideal in a happy, healthy marriage. As Lynn said,
And it seems like the husband is already feeling this. That
yeah,
this
he's
is
already
not-
wanting to go out and do his own thing, and he doesn't want to be tied to you. And, you know, I see it, this is a funny thing, but I see it in the grocery store quite a bit, where women are running around getting stuff to put in the cart, and the guy's standing there with the cart, and he's looking bored as
Yeah.
hell. And he's just kind of going, yeah, every time she says something to him, yeah, yeah.
Or
And he's pushing
holding the woman's purse while she's trying
holding
to
the
close,
woman's purse.
and he's standing.
And honestly, it looks so
It's so
pathetic.
sad.
Like,
Yeah, I know.
yeah, and the guy, it looks like the guys have been whipped and they just can't say no, right?
No, it's true. It's true.
And then what it's kind of like you're leading half a life. It really
Yeah.
is, you know, it's kind of pathetic.
I agree.
So I would just say, Leanne, that, yeah, let you don't get into a struggle with it. You need to perhaps reflect a little bit more on, is it worth doing this and making your husband unhappy by forcing him? Think about, well, maybe I need to be a little more independent. Am I afraid of doing things on my own? There's a whole area of exploration in terms of your own development that you might want to look at.
Or she's more afraid of letting him do things on his own.
Yes,
Usually it's a control issue. You're not trusting the other person.
Yes, insecurity about letting the other person have their own life, because, you know, who knows, they might find something more appealing than you and leave you.
Exactly.
But you can't lead life together on a basis of fear.
No.
You know, because what then happens is you both kind of start feeling strangled by the fear and confined by the fear. And that's not conducive to a happy, healthy marriage.
I agree.
I'm glad that you reached out and you questioned, you know, what you were doing and asked for advice. That's really good for you. And we hope that you can work this out.
All the best to you. Best of luck with everything.
Best of luck.
We have the next question from Maggie.
Hi, Lynn. Hi, Dr. Lucille. I'm divorced and I've been dating a guy I really like for the past year. We're really serious and we've started talking about moving in together. Problem is, my teenage kids hate him. What should I do? Thanks in advance, Maggie.
Well, Maggie, you know, you're not the only divorced parent who's facing this kind of issue. I've heard of this from a number of my clients, and I think that I'm going to put it in a very positive frame, which is it's such an opportunity to grow in your relationship, both with your boyfriend and with your kids, because you have to now unpack a lot of stuff that has not been dealt with. Okay, so I don't know when you introduced this man to your kids. I don't know how they reacted to the divorce. I suspect they still have some hard feelings about the divorce. A number of my clients find that the kids kind of have their loyalties, like they love you still, but they're more loyal to your ex-spouse, something like that. And they still feel hurt and wounded that the marriage broke down. They may have stories in their head about why the marriage broke down. Sometimes kids hold stories about, they have wishful fulfillment stories in their head about, oh, I hope my parents get back. I really want them to get back together, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So they haven't completely emotionally processed the divorce. You may be completely over it. You're fine. It's done. And obviously you're ready to move on, but the kids aren't. It's really about sitting them down, and rather than ramming it down their throat, no, you got to accept this guy. We're going to be together. We're going to be one big happy family together. You just have to, don't ram it down their throat. But instead, I would approach them in a kind of curious and compassionate way, which is, probably this whole thing with the divorce has been really hard on you guys, and you may not be ready to see me move on with another man. And I want to talk about that. I want to know where you're at with it. I want to know what are your worries and fears and concerns, or maybe you're still angry about whatever happened between me and your dad. I want to get to know how all of this impacted on you. When people do that, and very few people actually do that when they're in your position, Maggie, when they do that and they try to go deep with their kids, and if they're teens, it may be a little bit tricky to talk to them in depth, especially if they're boys.
Yeah.
Especially if they're boys. But at least you've given them the invitation to that you are safe to talk to, then you want to talk to them. And so they may not want to talk to you initially, but they, over time, as if you keep dropping the, hint that, you're here waiting whenever they want to talk about it, you're ready to hear them. They may find that they eventually they decide that they're okay talking to you. They need to talk to you, especially if they can see that you and the boyfriend are an item and you're not going anywhere, right? So I would suggest that you approach the teens about this and really try to understand, what their feelings are about the whole thing. You would be surprised by, teens, even teens. Sorry to sound critical about teens. Even teens, if they feel that they're seen and they're heard, even though they may not like the guy, they'll accept that, this is the path that you need to take. They might go into some grief that they haven't gone into about the end of the marriage, and they will eventually come around. But they need to know that you care about their feelings too. That's a number one priority. I hope that you're not wanting to rush into living with your boyfriend. He may need some talking to as well. He may or may not, I don't know if he's got kids, he may or may not understand the psychological dynamics going on with your teens. So he might need to get, I guess, sort of educated about what may be going on. So this is a delicate and complicated situation, but it's definitely doable. And as I said at the beginning, you might find that you actually get closer to your kids. Maybe you heal some wounds that you didn't know were there, and you still give yourself a chance at a happier life with your boyfriend. So hang in there, Maggie, and have those deep conversations. So Lynn, tell me how you would deal with this.
This is a hard one. when my son was younger and even a teenager, I often thought about this, like what I would do if something happened to my husband or to our marriage. And I always thought that I would just stay alone. Like I would not bring another man into the mix. I think it's really difficult for children like to go through the divorce, the loss of the father, and then to see mom, dating again. And then you have this new dynamic where we have the mom and the two kids, and we form a family, and it's a broken family. The father is missing, and then here comes this new person now, into the mix. I think it's super stressful. So I think what Dr. Lucille said about not rushing, I think is really important. I would definitely try to get my boyfriend to somehow maybe bond with the children, maybe do things on their own, the three of them, or two, one at one with each one, to find some kind of connection. Because if the children really truly hate him and he moves in regardless, like, they can make the whole environment hell, which is going to be terrible for your relationship. It's going to be terrible for your relationship with your children. It's not going to be really good for anybody. I don't know how long you've been divorced, or what your future plans, or how old the children are. Maybe the children are like 17, 18, will be, flying the next in a couple of years or something like that. I do understand that you want your happiness and you found a man that you love and you want to be with him. I totally understand that. As a mom, for me, it was always my child first. It doesn't matter, like no one's going to break that bond that I have with my child, and that's the most important thing for me. And if my son hated somebody else that I was trying to bring into the mix, I just couldn't do it. It's like, even with our dogs, right? If somebody was coming in and they hated dogs, then you're not coming in, right? Okay, this is the other way around, because she's not saying that the new boyfriend is not accepting the children.
Right.
It's the other way around. But you need harmony, you need peace. Your relationship's going to be worthless if there's just fighting and the kids are pissed and everyone's upset. Why force something that is like kind of doomed from day one?
Mhm.
But maybe I'm being overcritical, and I'm sure there is a way to make this work, but I think it's going to take a lot of time, and I don't think you should be forcing anyone or anything. And I don't think only your happiness should matter. I think you need to look at the big picture and see what these kids have gone through, because as adults, we all often overlook what the kids actually go through during a divorce. We think, oh, well, it's not really their problem. It's mom and dad's problem. We're divorced. Now I'm happy. I love this guy. Or we don't know how many other boyfriends Maggie had that perhaps have moved in, moved out, or,
That's
the kids got attached and then the
Mhm.
new daddy was gone. We don't know the backstory, right? So
Mhm.
I'm kind of with the kids, if that makes sense.
Okay.
But it's almost like you have to choose, right? It's almost like you're choosing your child, your children, or your boyfriend. It's a very, very difficult predicament to be in.
Okay. Well, so that wraps up episode 53. Lynn and I, as always, thoroughly enjoy being here with you, and we hope you've gotten a lot of value out of our episode. And if you have, please leave a comment, share, like, and give us a review, because that keeps us going. And we would love to see you again in our next episode, episode 54, where we unpack some more of our wonderful listeners' problems. So thank you, everybody. And thank you, Lynn. And we will see you in the next episode.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Please be aware that Lynn and I are here to provide insights, advice, stories that are for educational and entertainment purposes only. None of our content should be considered to be personal, medical, or mental health therapy. If you are experiencing a mental health or physical health challenge, please consult the appropriate healthcare specialist. We are here to provide the best possible content in an atmosphere of positive conversation and personal growth.